It's called Smut. Give me smut and nothing but a dirty novel I can't shut if it's uncut and
Logging
unsut.
in. Also, like if this is where we start recording, hi viewers, we're actually on Zoom right now because we're all in different places. But
Yep.
it was
Please
like
forgive us.
a minute before logging on, I was like, I don't have a podcast thought. Oh my God. Although we haven't really had one this whole season. We've just kind of like started talking and then we like get into it. Oh, actually, my thought, I guess
There it is.
Okay,
well,
cool.
it's not like a sexy thing or anything because usually it's like sex related stuff, but I like recently bought a kettlebell, getting into shape, and my I just unlocked a new fear of like, oh, I don't want to hold this over my head while I do like, glute bridges or something because I'm like, this could kill me. Like if I drop this on my face, this could kill me.
That's part of the appeal of working out. You won't drop it out of survival mode, so you'll go beast mode over killing yourself. A man chewed off his arms.
So
A man chewed off his arms just cause?
Well, I don't know. I'm mashing together movies, but
got it. Okay.
It's that James Franco movie where he didn't.
I thought he had to like cut it off. I didn't think
he cut it off, but like people have overcome a lot to survive. So
True.
I mean, my issue with the kettlebell is I'm always terrified that I'm gonna throw it through a window and destroy property with it. Like I'm scared that it's gonna slip out of my hand and kill something.
Truth be told, I've had both thoughts before and we're all right because I'm like, well, those people got into the predicament where like I would never get in the predicament where I'm going to drop a kettlebell on my head anymore because I know my limits and I wouldn't be like having to cut off my arm because I'm not going to climb a mountain for a thrill, like these aren't things that I'm going to do unless But I had my podcast thought. I've been really into miniatures lately on the internet. Like all of my wholesome friends send back miniature stuff. That's so adorable. And like they're like tiny kitchen and like people will like cook with them. They'll make really tiny dishes, like gourmet things.
I've seen these.
I'm absolutely obsessed. So my friend wanted a Christmas village and she has a little house. And I'm like, that'd be really cute for you. Yeah, I could totally see you having a Christmas village. Started researching it, went to estate sales, very expensive. I think we talked about this.
Oh, we talked about this after the last recording. You and I did. Because you were returning stuff. Yeah.
Because I had the Dollar Tree thing. Also did watch that John Oliver on Dollar Tree's craziest unfun fact in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Where the number of Dollar Tree or dollar store franchises, so it's Dollar General, Dollar Tree, and Family Dollar. The number of those in the US outnumber all of the Starbucks, McDonald's, and Walmarts combined, which is wild to me.
That's crazy.
But back to my miniatures. I've been making them for Christmas cards. I have little couches and like dressers. And I'm making
my miniatures. That's my new favorite quote for me. Back to my miniatures.
That chair looks really cool.
And I got my friend in Florida who I stay with gets all these, like he does not unsubscribe from like catalog things.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
and so he gets like Wayfair and furniture catalogs. And I'm like, these are perfect. So I'm just going to cut them out and put them on cardstock. And now I'm making little doll houses for my friends that are taking way too much time to make like 4. I have not done much with them. And
Crafting is fun. Crafting
is
really
cute.
Is.
We love things that are also other things.
Speaking of things that are other things, I don't know if this will work because we're on Zoom, but welcome to Bam's Reading Phil.
See, you just it would have worked, but you couldn't hold it together.
It worked on my end. I think it sounded beautiful.
Okay, do you want to sing it one more time? Do you want to sing it one more time, Jess?
No, it is what it is.
All right, we've passed it. I'm so sorry.
No redos.
I was going to tag in on the third. I was going to tag in on the next one.
Oh, well, in that case.
Okay. Speaking of things that look like other things, welcome to
Bam's Reading Phil. I think that one's probably better.
That was good.
Yeah.
I'm Emily.
I'm Jess.
And I'm Julie Merica.
Yay! And this is
Julie.
This is episode 3. Yes, episode 3.
Yeah.
And we're talking about cuckolding. I'm like a 5-year-old.
We've escalated quickly, to be fair.
Really have. This has been a whirlwind.
I'm just very vanilla and I don't like dark things. Merica has covered Praise King Femdom and
She's
Cuckolding.
a fucking liar.
See, well, maybe this is my exploration. Okay, I don't know much about them, so I want to know more. And who better to learn from than the professionals?
You actually have like a whole list of things that you're like, I don't know anything. And you're like, cuckolding, cross that off. Like
there's a scroll
sexy list.
I literally talking about.
Yeah. I was surprised by this one because also not that I've been on like a super slump, but I've been slightly in a reading slump, and I honestly think that the book that I read for this helped get me back into reading.
Really?
Yes.
I'm overjoyed, but also disturbed, but I don't know yet. Like, I don't know how to feel because I obviously don't know the story yet. But
yeah, I'll tell you, we'll all go on a journey together when it like gets that point. But hey, thank you for suggesting this.
Yeah,
you're so welcome.
You texted me and were very excited about it, and I was like, I have nothing. I have done nothing. I don't know what to do. But then I found one that I'm very excited about, and it combines all of our previous topics as well.
Oh damn!
So it has Praise King, Femdom, and Cuckolding.
Oh damn!
And
you've got a trifecta.
I've got a trifecta, and I'm stoked.
I don't know if it's the Christmas vibes, but I am feeling like a child. I'm so overjoyed right now. I could not be happier.
Yeah, is it my lights? My Christmas
I think
lights?
it's all of it. Yeah, it's the cozy cold. I also kind of I was working hard today and forgot, so then I got excited because I didn't forget I had it set aside, but I just kind of like didn't remember that it was tonight. On the list. One of those. So when you texted, I was like, oh yay. And I was like, I don't really have to do too much other than just indulge and listen. And that's my favorite job.
Bring your beautiful personality and your thoughts
and interject unsolicitedly. It's kind of my favorite thing to do.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So wait, Julie.
Oh, go on.
I want to know what Julie knows and experiences in regards to cuckolding. Like, I want a definition. I want what you know.
Your experiences?
What you don't know.
The experiences one made my butthole tighten because I'm like, this is amongst friends. I've got different stories. No, I'm just kidding.
But back to my miniatures.
Back to my miniatures.
Those are my miniatures. Let's pull out my gigantos. No, I'm just kidding. So from what we've discussed already, it's the idea of the watching your partner enjoy and indulge in being attended to in some way. And sometimes that can be really innocuous and like just being like flirty. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it can be a little less innocuous and like real like emasculating, or vice versa. Like it's like watching your partner get kind of dominated in a way that makes you feel good, or just watching them do their due, like shine their light, I guess I'll say. But in a lot of ways, I really enjoy and have enjoyed the innocuous side of it, like the flirting, the whole like, like getting a little too frisky. And I have experienced that in certain relationships with certain dynamics and like where I was in my own headspace, and how insecure I was. So it was nice to be like, haha, that one's choosing me at the end of the day. And all these hotties want them, like, I don't know why I turned old timey, but I felt old timey when I needed that kind of validation. But yeah, I think it can be, but I'm excited to hear more of I kind of only hear about it too. This is where I'm vanilla. I only know the HBO versions, which are like politicians getting their asses beat while their wives smoke a cigar and make deals. You know what I mean? Like it's like the most cliche version of it. And I feel that way about all of them. And I'm coming with the open mind that I know that's not the correct take, but this is kind of all I'm coming several times.
Well, I could say more old timey if you want. She's coming with an open mind. Hey.
Coming with an open mind is actually a fantastic name for anything. Like for a book, a movie.
It's our new t-shirt. It's our new t-shirt.
TM. It's us. It's y'all.
Write it down. I think it's similar to, because I know you mentioned something similar when we did Femdom, of like your view of it is the more stereotypical view of it. And it's like, I feel like it is part of it. Like that is a section of cuckolding that works for people. But yeah, like there's a more expansive world out there, and it
Mhm.
doesn't.
Yeah.
Even if it is that, which is usually how I read my fics. Like even if it is a politician getting whipped or whatever, it can be done lovingly. It
Yeah.
can be done as part of a loving relationship. It doesn't have to be all weird. My research mainly included looking things up on Wikipedia. And I didn't
Same.
know.
And Cosmo.
Yeah. I just didn't realize that cuckold as like a term is specifically referring, like originally as defined, it's like a husband of an adulterous wife. So when you call someone a cuckold,
Oh.
he is like, if you
The blame is on the woman.
Crazy Stupid Love, if you've ever seen that movie.
Yeah.
And Steve Carell's character gets cheated on, and he's drunk at a bar, and he's like, my wife cuckolded me. I'm a cuckold. She cuckolded me. And Ryan Gosling has to be like, no, you're screaming this in a bar, right?
I owe a man an apology, actually, for the first time in my life.
For the first time in my life.
But yeah, no, he was right, because I was like talking shit and I was like, no, there's no name for, a mean name for bachelors who, or like mistress, like you get the mistress, we're blaming the woman here, but we don't get like the adult, we get adulterer, but that could be anybody. And now I'm like, no, that's kind of what it is. A cuckold is.
But the action is still on the woman. That's like quote unquote
the woman
cheating.
is still cheating.
Yeah, so the man is not cheating. So it's more of well, we can get more into it if you want to like finish your
no, but yeah, it's referring specifically to the man who's being cheated on, and then the wife of the adulteress, a wife of an adulterous husband is a cuck queen.
Yeah.
So if a wife has been cheated on, she's a cuck queen, and then if a husband has been cheated on, he's a cuckold.
Queen.
I kind of love that term.
And
like
it's
I've
spelled
learned
with like
so
a
many terms.
QUE. It's cuck, QUEAN. So it's like it's like French. It's very French.
Queen.
Queen.
I also, it sounds like a delicious pastry, but I will say, it's interesting. So you're trying to tell me that it's not typically like the standard history is not consensual. It's just a surprise, like any extramarital type of.
It's a humiliation thing, is what it is.
Yeah,
it
was
humiliating to be a cuckold.
Yeah, and so
to be
as
an option.
Yeah, well, and as most things like back in the Middle Ages, cuckold was shameful and whatever, and then as many shameful things do, it then became a fetish. And now I think when most people refer to cuckolding, they're referring to the cuckolding fetish, which like definitely having like a fantasy about being cheated on and like that kind of thing is part of it, but it's not necessarily the whole fetish. So it kind of like started as this original definition where it was just about that, and then it's kind of now taken on this whole new life when you refer to it in like the sexual way.
Cool.
Yeah, but Emily, what else did you uncover in your research?
So I actually found like a really informative article on Cosmopolitan. It was like the
Incredible.
UK Cosmo site, and I was like, and I kind of want to link it to like this episode, so if I can find it again, which I am sure I can, we could do that. But they basically they talk about the history of it more and stuff, and they go, but now it's more of a consensual form of non-monogamy. It is usually sexual. It's not necessarily poly. It's usually more of a sexual act. People that refer to it now sometimes refer to it as hot wifing, which I also I learned in my book, and I like laughed my ass off because I just think it's such a funny term. Like, hot wifing, and I was like, wow. And that's referring to
lightning coqueen and hot wifing are going to be like two costumes I'm really going to struggle with deciding what I'll be next year.
Lightning coqueen. Hot wifing. Oh my god, lightning coqueen is so good. Thank you for that. You're killing it today.
That's the t-shirt.
That's the t-shirt.
Lightning coqueen.
That's actually very good.
And hot wifing is.
I'm fucking writing it down. Don't even
do it.
I've got my sticky notes right here.
Oh,
TM.
It's referring to a wife who has intimate relations with another man, and it's talks about like what people kind of get from it, like what the man gets from it. And it's like being humiliated in a consensual way. It can trigger like a sexual jealousy, which I also like will talk about from my story. And it kind of goes back to what you said back in episode 2 when we were talking about this, like seeing sexual satisfaction or like empowerment of your partner, and that gets them hot and heavy as well. The other thing to know is that the other man in this equation, so not the cuckold, not the cuck queen, but the third guy, is called a bull. He's referred to as a bull.
This is the best vocab lesson I've ever had. I've never been able to pay it. Like, I'm going to pass the fucking quiz at the end so well because this is the best day of my life. So wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Not the cuck. You also using it in a sentence, chef's kiss. But the bull is always a dude?
Not necessarily.
I think historically, yes. Nowadays, not necessarily.
Okay. Because you can emasculate a man.
The definition, it is a man, quote unquote, emasculating another man by having sex with his wife.
Okay. Thank you.
And I think in specifically the hot wife fantasy stuff, it's more that's more what it is, because it's more heteronormative, and a big part of that is like, my hot wife is being pursued by usually like a bigger, also bigger, both kinds of bigger man. And there's that's a part of it, is like the bull is like a more masculine man, and that's a part of the humiliation.
Oh, and you're like a Wall Street boy with like your smarts and
you're like a skinny boy.
I love it. Okay. I feel like it's kind of it's to me, it's the rubber band effect. When you like don't teach little boys not to cry and not to hug and not to have any human contact, they're gonna like backlash in a way that's a little more aggressive. And to me, this is like a perfect like way to like regain that like power a little bit, which is kind of cool. If you do it right. Obviously, like, you know, with anything, we could talk about the risks involved with psychology of using sex to get out, you know, your therapy, but we could also talk about how it could be really effective. I think that's really cool.
But
it's like a way to play with masculinity. Probably for some.
The
and for the woman too, a lot of the time. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
For the woman too, because there's such a stigma against just being sexual and being able to go like, no, I'm gonna fuck this really hot dude and you get to watch, is also, there's some fun gender stuff going on for sure.
Yeah.
This is just for me really. But the term cuckold is derived from the cuckoo bird, who lays its eggs in other people's nests.
Yes, I saw this too in my research,
and I just had to say, because I was like, how fun! Like, I love that.
Obsessed
Julie's
with bird lore in general, genuinely like obsessed with bird lore. It's fun to compare humans to that anyway, because we do have our own little dances and our little rituals, and that's really great. I love it.
Yeah, and it's also like, so if you think about, because that's how it started as a term, and then it became a slang term to like insult dudes who were raising other people's kids. And then it became a slang term to insult dudes who were cheated on by a woman who might get pregnant and have somebody else's kid.
Yeah, I do remember a brief moment in time when it was like an insult, and now some dudes are like, nah, dude, it's like simp. Like, it's like some guys embrace it, some guys get real upset.
Yeah, it's very specific to you how you feel about cuckolding, I think.
And it has evolved. It really has evolved. I've watched it evolve. Like, I've watched it go from like an acceptable term to like insult to an acceptable term to be like, no, I just am. Like, I love it. I'm a fan.
Yeah. The most vanilla person I know, Julie America.
The most vanilla person we know.
Not after this show. Y'all have turned me out.
We got you.
Is there any other questions on cuckolding?
Yeah. Any other thoughts before we get into Emily's story?
You know, this one I actually feel the most educated about, just because I do have both the stereotypes and a couple, like, you know, I've seen some well done porno experiences of it too. So I've like, you know, I feel like more, at least less on the learning it. Like, I feel like I have at least some input, so I can indulge in this and just listen to the story. Lean in.
Good.
I'm really excited to hear yours, Emily.
Me too, especially if this is the one that turned you out back to reading.
All right, so I'm going to start off with the Cuckolding episode with Give Me More by Sara Cate. It is 358 pages and it was published on June 16th, 2022. Sara Cate this is the fourth in the Salacious Players series. And the first one, Jessica will think this is familiar, is Praise. Have you read that?
I know that one.
Yeah. Did you
I
read
read
it or
that
did
one.
you just know it?
I've read it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I know it
I know
from
what
when
that
we
is.
did your photo shoot
Did our
at
photo shoot.
Yep.
and Jess picked it up and used it and we chatted about it and I was like, that actually sounds like one I would really enjoy.
It was good except for the pairing kind of gave me like a but like if I didn't think about who they were, it was a good book, if that makes sense.
Oh,
But
interesting.
it kind of put me off of the series because I was like, I don't know, like none of these are like really my hardcore my kinks, or or like they don't excite me. But this one came up and she's a good writer, so I was like, okay, and I also I just hurt my knee. I also like learned a lot, I think, from this book, and I liked it until the very end, and then I got so annoyed. So come on this journey with me. So like 5 years ago, we meet this whole group, and in this group is Hunter, Isabel, his girlfriend, who he hopes one day will be his wife, three other people in this group, and Drake, who is Hunter's best friend. Hunter and Isabel are dating and are in love. They are all with Hunter's friends, hanging out and talking about how much they hate their jobs. It's their normal Thursday night thing, and they're all drinking, and they start talking about their own kinks, because every Thursday they all watch, as they're all talking and drinking, they watch Drake hit on somebody, and they start talking about like sex and all this stuff. So Isabel, who Hunter thinks is a very innocent and pure person, states that she would be into a threesome, and it's a guy or a girl. She doesn't care, and he's like, oh, like, eyes bulge out of his head. He's like, this is not who I thought she was, but not in a bad way, like what a good surprise. Hunter says, and this is a multi-point of view, so we hear from all these people. Hunter says that he does not have any kinks. And then it's kind of like there's an awkward silence, and then he looks at his friend Drake, who is flirting with a girl, and things get a little weird for a moment. The next day, the company goes under, and this whole group of people start the Salacious Players Club, which is the aforementioned name of the series, and also the name of the kink club that they all start together.
Fun.
It starts out fun. Right. It starts out as
so these people are they're just friends at first that work at the.
So it's like 5 people. They're all friends, but Hunter and Isabel are dating, and he's like, I'm gonna marry this girl. So 5 years later, Drake is a self-professed scoundrel.
Telling you what, is Drake? I feel like Drake is just the most common sexual, like, women written name for a man that is hot. You know what I mean? Like, women be writing about Drakes.
I kept thinking about the hotel.
Yeah, yes. I do think about Drake. I do think about Drake.
The Drake Hotel.
So wait, we start the book. They all are hanging out. They decide to start a sex club.
Yeah.
And then we skip to 5 years later.
Yes.
Okay. I'm on the same page.
Okay.
Thank you.
Drake is a scoundrel. He is in Arizona, and he is and he says it multiple times. He said he's in Arizona with Hunter and Isabel, who are now married. And the 3 of them are on this cross-country road trip, touring different sex clubs all across the country, because they want to expand Salacious Players Club. So they're like going to buy one of these out and turn it into their own brand. So they're starting in Arizona. But they ditched him that night to celebrate their 10-year dating anniversary. When they were out, he met 2 girls. He went to a club and he met 2 girls, and now they're all home and they're basically having a 3-way. And he's just like, I can't believe they ditched me. Like, and now I have to like have a 3-way. And this is like,
he's like jealous of their date a little bit.
Yes. As he's like still having this 3-way, the 2 of them, Hunter and Isabel, come home, and he hears them because they're all sharing they all got like an Airbnb, and he hears them starting to like get busy. And so he starts to be like, actually, this is kind of hot, because the walls are very thin. So Then we switch, and that's where the chapter ends. So we hear from Isabel. Hunter and Isabel come home. They had a great night out. They're like, oh, I wish Drake was here. Just like, guys, come on. And they get home and they hear Drake with two girls in his room. And they're like, we should give him like, we should give him a show. And so this leads to number one, which I call a little friendly competition, in which they're both just having really loud sex in rooms next to each other. And Isabel, as she's about to come, starts thinking of Drake. And then it's like an accident. She accidentally starts thinking of Drake, and then she finishes. And she kind of feels guilty, but she's like, well, you know what? He was right there. I heard him. Like, no big deal. This doesn't matter.
Right.
Later that night, they're all up for a midnight snack, as people usually are. And Isabel and Drake are bantering about the sorority girls that he brought home. They call them sorority girls. I don't know if they actually were college age. They were of age. I know that. These people are also like
I also
early
just
30s.
I was gonna say, when I picture sorority girls, they could be 40-year-old women. It's just the energy.
It's a vibe.
It's the vibe.
It's a voice. It's a motivation.
It's an LA mama milfy like sorority girl, but like
Mama
hasn't
milfy
grown up
LA.
yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's an, oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah. And they said that repeatedly because they were having sex, obviously.
Oh my God.
There it is. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They're bantering in the kitchen about the sorority girls he brought home. She's wearing a skimpy tank top and shorts, and Hunter's just watching them. And he's happy because he's like, I like watching all the people I love be together. Really setting things up. So, and we have this inner monologue from him that he just doesn't want things to change yet. He realizes that he's getting older. They're gonna want to have kids soon. Drake will eventually settle down, but probably not anytime soon because he's an aforementioned scoundrel. Isabel, the next night, is nervous to go to the sex club. Hunter and all his friends own it, and so she's around it a lot, but she is not like, it's not her typical scene. She's just a yoga teacher, and they're very flexible. She's never been to another sex club, and they're going, basically every time they visit a club, they're going to like check it out, see what it's about, and also have a meeting with like the owners because they want to buy this place. So
they're on business.
They're on business, but if pleasure happens, I can help it. And so they get there, they get ushered into a room to use while they wait, which pisses Hunter off because they're there for a meeting, and the hostess was like, you guys can have fun while you wait. And he's like, bitch, we are supposed to have a meeting in like 5 minutes. I better not be waiting for an hour. It's like that kind of stuff. And so they all kind of just sit there and like kind of hang out in this room. And like Drake and Isabel are fine. Hunter's just like all pissy. The owner finally comes and shows them to the shibari demonstration.
Ooh, fun.
I don't know what that is.
So shibari is I believe Japanese. I don't want to.
Yes.
Okay. I was like,
Shibari
I know it's
is
Asian.
Japanese.
The Japanese rope tying kink.
Okay. I think I know. I know rope stuff.
It's not just like tying someone to a bed. It's like doing intricate knots and designs with the ropes.
Yeah, the point is like the design of it and how like beautiful it can be and how like supportive of the body it can be. And then there's even like a suspension variant of it too. And the point of that is like how beautifully you can suspend.
I think that's what I've seen.
Yeah. It's like an art
I follow
form.
an Instagram account that does like tutorials, and it's like just very beautiful. It's just very beautiful people tying.
For just like normal people.
Yeah. When I was working at the Art Institute, they sold a book about shibari, and I didn't know what it was, but it was just on the like bookshelf. And so kids would be like, boobs, and we're like, it's art. I don't know. Okay, so the owner finally comes out and he shows them to the shibari demonstration. Hunter is pulled into the office with the owner while Drake and Isabel are hanging out, and while they're watching like the demonstration. So the shibari instructor pulls them up on stage because he's like, "You're a beautiful couple. Like, will you come and do this while I talk about it so people can see it?" And they're like, "You know what? Fuck it. Why not? They're really close. They trust each other. Blah blah." They pull him up on stage. Isabel takes off her dress, and she's like, "You know what? Fuck it. I'm in a sex club. I have a good body. I don't care." So she's standing there just, I think, in her underwear. I don't think she has a bra on. I don't remember what they said. But so Drake can tie the pentagram harness onto her, and she starts getting all hot and bothered. When he's done, instead of taking it off, the instructor is like, let's show all the ways that you can like use the harness. And so they demonstrate, which that's why I was like, oh, I never thought about the after. I thought the whole part was like tying you up. And I was like, well, now what do? You got a fucking harness on, just untie me. But it was like this whole thing of
many
like
things you can use a harness for depending on how you
I didn't
You're not gonna
realize
do
it.
like 30 minutes of beautiful knots to be like,
Well,
all
and then
right.
I thought the deal was like, okay, I guess we have sex now while I'm wearing ropes. I don't know. But
Yeah,
they're
you're like all hogtied.
they're like, well, because of this knot, you can like grab here. And so she immediately is like hoisted into the air pretty much or something. Like it sounded very cool. So they start doing all this, and she sees while she's being demonstrated on, basically, she sees Hunter watching them from across the room, and he's into it. And Hunter, then we go to Hunter's POV, and he's like, I don't hate watching this. This is weird. But after this, like
it's to me, I'm getting like watching your partner perform and do well, like on stage. Like if they're
I think
the
a lot
star
of
of the show.
we can all like relate to that because we're like, yeah, we're all performers in some way. But like one of the things that they had to demonstrate was like, oh, you can like easily bend her over and like thrust against her or something. And she felt like Drake's hard on, basically. So in her mind, she's like, Drake's liking this, I'm liking this. This is so weird. This feels wrong. I don't know. We go to Hunter's POV. He realizes he didn't hate seeing it, and Drake, he talks to them after, and Drake is all upset because he thinks that Hunter is upset. Because he's like, I would never touch your wife like that. I'm so sorry. And Hunter is like, actually,
he's like trying to get out of it.
Mm-hmm. And Hunter's like super chill. He's like, it's okay. I trust you guys.
Like, I was into it. It's cool.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, if I wasn't so turned on, this would have been something different.
Yes. And he thinks like, he kind of thinks he sounds a little crazy in his head, but he's like, God, that was like kind of hot. And so the next day they start driving. They're on their way to Austin, and they were in Arizona first. They also, I should say, are all originally from California. So they're going all the way to, I think the last place is Tennessee, and then they go back. So second stop is Austin. On the way there, Drake gets a call that he is being evicted at the end of the month from his house. Isabel, because like the guy is selling the place, it doesn't really matter. But Isabel and Hunter hear this, and they're like, dude, just stay with us. Like, don't leave the road trip, finish the road trip. You know, that it'll give you a week to put your stuff into storage. You can put your essentials in our house while you look, blah, blah, blah. And Drake's kind of like feeling weird because of the night before, but mostly he's like, well, okay, these are my best friends. Like I've lived with them before, like, you know what, fine, whatever. So they're going to finish the rest of the road trip, and then they're going to all live together.
And then they're going to finish something else.
And then they're going to on the drive to Austin, Hunter starts thinking about cuckolding or hot wifing, and that's how I learned that term. He knows, because he works and owns this sex club, he knows a lot about kinks. He's had to brush up on a lot of them. He knows cuckolding is based on humiliation and degradation, but he doesn't want that. That's not his shtick. He's more of a dom, but he doesn't want that. So he thinks his kink is more hot wife, in the sense of sharing his hot wife. He has the quote of like he says, watching Drake touch what's mine makes me want to claim her again. It's that like primal kink that like is released from him. And also like at this point I was like, this is all really interesting to me. I'm not really into any of that part. Like I don't like, I'm not the idea of sharing. Like I think I've mentioned it before, as someone who has been like cheated on, you know, I'm very much a like, I don't fucking share, but like the way that Sara Cate explains all of this and talks about it through these characters, I was like, I understand this so much better now than just being like, why the fuck would someone like that? So I'm like, wow, that was so thank you, Sara Cate, for that.
It sounds really well written.
Yeah.
Like, and well researched, and like these are well thought out characters.
Yeah.
That's the thing too, is like if you like the characters, you can buy into it. And it is like, well, I buy into all of this so far. I feel like, yeah, if you don't have the triggering, and to me, it is dependent on the relationship, right? Like if you have a certain relationship with your partner and you do feel super comfortable with them, or vice versa, where it's like, it doesn't really matter. Like, let's go.
Yeah. It can kind of go either way.
Yeah.
Yes. Also, I should mention too, this might come up later, but Drake is the like contractor that helped build the kink club. So that's also why he's on this road trip with them. So he can like look at places to be like, is this structurally sound? Should we invest? Blah, blah, blah. Just so we all know. So Drake is
Does
like
it have
built.
good bones?
He's got good bones, let me tell
Oh,
you.
he's one of those contractor type. That shit is so sexy though. There's something good about a boy who knows how to look at a foundation. And
he's got like kind of like, I'd say like shoulder length, like Chad Michael Murray in Freaky Friday length blonde hair. Do you know what I'm saying? He's like this built guy. Hunter is like taller, curly, darker hair, a little more like olivey complexion. And then Isabel has like, it's like kind of more petite yoga instructor with like long red hair. So these are the three that we've got all the colors
They're
down
in my
hair.
brain. We're there.
Okay, so still on the drive to Austin, he is like, hey guys, remember like when you guys were like doing that kind of made me realize I think I might have a cuckolding kink. What do you think? And he kind of says it like as
he just
easy
like
as
says it just like that.
Yeah, because
he's just
like, it was like thought or a stream of consciousness. So
honestly, good for him,
right?
If there's some of your oldest friends and you started a sex club together, I guess you would have a level of openness about this.
Yep. And so they take it badly. Drake is like, you're not into humiliation. That's not your thing. And then he's like he's like uncomfortable. It's like, I'm gonna go get a drink. And Isabel starts crying because she immediately thinks like he doesn't want her anymore. He thinks that like he wants to give her to someone else. And he's like, no, that's not what I meant. Just this. He tries to like assure her and tell her like nothing will ruin their marriage. He's sorry for bringing it up. It was just like this idea was like really hot.
Insecurities, man. That's so sad. You know what it's depressing.
Well, he also kind of brought it up out of nowhere. So I could see like at first I was like, those motherfuckers, why would they react that way? But also I'm like, if you're driving silently to Austin and you just hear, you guys should bang in front of me. Like, I'm just like, what?
Okay, that's fair. I might have I don't know that I would cry.
No, yeah.
But I would definitely be like, oh my God, like
Correct.
What's going on? Like, yeah, I'd have follow-up questions for sure.
Yeah. So
if it's the first time your husband's bringing it up after all these years, it is probably a little jarring,
Jarring.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, I'm sorry, he says this when they just get to Austin. So they've checked into their like Airbnb or something. So Drake was like, I'm gonna go get a drink. He like runs to a bar down the street. Hunter like follows him. He like saw, or like, I don't know, he did a Find My Friends or something and like found him in the bar. And Drake is convinced, he's like, is this a test? And Hunter assures him it's not, but Drake is just angry, thinking that like Hunter doesn't care about his marriage or something. He's like, how could he do this? And blah, 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 blah. So he's all like in his cups, whatever. So Drake comes back a little while later and he's a little drunk and he accidentally walks in to the bathroom where he sees Isabel naked. And he's like, oh my God. And he like runs out. She runs after
everybody
him in a
poops naked.
But it was like all over. She exploded.
This is how I'm comfortable.
I need the breeze on my nipples. They kind of talk. She like runs after him in a towel. They talk and she's like, what do you think of this idea? And he's like, well, what do you think of it? And it's kind of this like, I don't know, what do you think? And there's like this moment where they both kind of look at each other and he's like, what if we do like a trial run tonight at the club? And she's like,
I thought they meant without the husband, and I was like, no, that feels fucked up.
Yeah. So they all agree. And so at the club is very in your face and they both feel kind of weird being there. They all arrive together, but basically Hunter goes in ahead of them because he's going to have the like business meeting first. And these two are going to like kind of see the area. And the two, the rules that they had were like, okay, or his trial run was like, basically like Drake was like, Hunter, if I do anything and you like lose your shit or Isabel and I don't like it, like this is done. But basically it's more like, Hunter, if you feel upset, I'm not going to do this. So that's like the whole rule.
But what about the rule the show must go on?
We'll get to it. So, the stars. Okay. Hunter, okay, so they're both in this like very in your face sex club. They're like, oh, this doesn't feel classy. It feels a little like
Mm.
yucky. And they
It
both feel
doesn't
kind of
feel
weird.
classy in here.
Yeah. But Drake pulls Hunter to the side. Or I'm sorry, Drake pulls Isabel to, not Hunter, to like the side of the club, like kind of like around the bar, pushes her up against
Yeah.
this wall and just starts making out with her. And they were both kind of into it. They're like, wow, okay, this is fun. And she's like, I don't know. She kind of pulls her. She's like, where is Hunter? Like, this is weird. He should be like watching. Like, it doesn't feel, he should be here. And
Yeah.
Drake's like, there's a whole second like floor with one-way mirrors. Like, he's like,
Oh.
I could tell you, I could bet you anything he's up there watching. So they keep making out
Hot.
harder.
Can I just say,
Yeah,
that's hot. I'm into that.
the one-way mirror watching thing, or like
I'm
knowing
into
he's
I'm into the like up above me somewhere.
Mm.
There's someone looking through a one-way mirror watching. Like,
Does it matter if is it more exciting if it's like
it
if
depends
it's
on why I'm there.
okay.
Like in this situation, if I was there with my partners, I would want it to be one of my partners. But if I'm just like out for a wild night and that was something that I just saw in the club, I would go, oh yeah, that's hot to me that like people could be watching what's going on, like in a more general sense. But if it was like my partner, it would be a more specific kind of hot.
Yeah. Would you rather be watched or be watching? Like if your partner was involved?
I think I'd rather be watched, honestly.
I think I'd rather watch. Well, I don't know.
Really?
Actually.
I'm more an exhibitionist than a voyeur, for sure.
I think I'd rather watch with a partner, like me and a partner watching somebody we don't know, or vice versa, but not like I don't want to watch my partner with someone else, and I don't want them to watch me with someone else. Okay, so I guess I don't like cuckolding.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so you definitely don't like this at all. Because I'm like, I could see both given the context. It depends. Like with my current partner, not so much. Maybe. I don't know. I could be into it. It depends. There is a performance aspect of it because sometimes that is what gets me horny, is like pretending like I have to perform. Like it's like, oh no, people are watching because somebody else is watching, right? Like somebody's there.
Sex against a window.
Yeah. And I do like that.
Yeah. That's like I think the not lowest form, but like the easiest, like someone could be watching, but also maybe I'm 16 floors up and no one can see. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
it's like the fucking outside.
Yeah, that is what would be hot if it wasn't my partners. Like that is why I would find that hot if it wasn't my partners.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, so they're making out against this bar. He slips his hand.
Oh, excuse me. I'm so sorry. They're making out against the bar.
He slips his hand under her dress. He feels how wet she is. And then she's like getting really into it. And then Hunter comes out of nowhere. And he's like, he has this like fire in his eyes. And he picks her up, throws her over his shoulder, takes her to a private room where he says, be a good slut and take my cock out. Which leads to number 2,
Hunter.
which I called the right kind of inspiration.
Is Drake there?
Drake is not there. Drake is not there.
Okay, it's just the two of them. Got it.
So they have crazy awesome sex. Drake is drunk at the bar waiting. And he's like, you guys can just do whatever you want. Like, it's fine. Like, clearly Hunter was like upset. And Isabel's like, Drake, no, that was amazing. He was super turned on. And he's like, I don't know. And while they're talking, Isabel's like, fine, let me just like go outside or something.
My boy is a sensitive contractor.
The sensitive contractor. And Isabel, as she's like trying to kind of convince Drake that it's okay, gets like grabbed by a stranger, basically. Not like groped, nothing bad, but he's just like, this random guy's like, that guy doesn't want to talk to you. Why don't you talk to me? And she's like, no. And basically Drake's like, get your hands off her. And then Hunter comes out of nowhere and is like, get your hands off her. And so they get into a good old fashioned brawl. And they're asked to leave, which they're like, good, because this place that's like not okay. There should be more security.
Dingy.
It's very dingy. And they leave and they're like, should we go like get tacos? So they all go and walk and get tacos. They walk back to the hotel and Hunter confirms that he liked it and was very turned on. And that is the end of Austin. Cool. New Orleans is the next place. And they get there and it only has one bed. There is a conference in town.
Only one bed.
And
Oh my God.
The classic conference in New Orleans.
classic.
Right.
And Drake is just all moody because he's like, I don't know. But they all go to bed because they get there like, probably midnight or 1 a.m. They're fucking tired. And
Yeah.
he and is like they're all like laying on the bed. It's like Hunter, Isabel in the middle, and Drake. And Hunter's kind of like, go cuddle with Drake. And they start cuddling and then they kiss, which leads to number 3, which I call directions are appreciated by all, in which Hunter then suggests Drake maybe pull her top down. And then maybe Drake goes and kisses her breasts, and then maybe Drake goes down on her. And all this is happening while Hunter is like making out with Isabel. Afterwards, when Drake is in the bathroom, Hunter suggests that Isabel like cuddle with him like when they sleep, so that he knows that it's not just sex, that this is that we all like care about each other. And
Oh, that's cute.
and she's like, you have to show him too, not just me. And that's something Hunter like thinks about as they all go to sleep.
Mhm.
The next day, Drake and Isabel set rules while they are working out in the hotel gym. Gross. The gym, not the rules.
The rules are not gross. The gym, disgusting.
And so they agree that nothing should ever happen between them without Hunter. That she should have a safe word, which they come up with namaste, which I was like, that's so stupid.
Oh,
and
fine.
that even though she's on
I feel
birth
like that's
control-
problematic in some way, but I don't know how.
yes, and that she's a yoga teacher. It fits.
Oh, okay.
And that even though she's on birth control, he wants to use protection every time. And she's like, okay, this sounds cool.
Yeah.
And that night they're at a rope tying class at the sex club in New Orleans. And
It would have been wild if she was like, nah, only raw dog.
I only want that raw dog.
No condom.
And it's
she's
taught
like,
by
no
this-
deal.
Get in line, bitch.
Change that mind.
This rope tying class is taught by this lady, Scylla, who is this like gorgeous woman. And the 3 of them are doing it together because they have time before Hunter has to go to this meeting. And she goes, okay, I was tied up last time. So Hunter, why don't you tie up Drake? And as he's doing this, it's like rope tying, but also kind of shibari, but little less on the art form, little more on the sex part, if you will. And Hunter starts feeling things. And he's like, wow, like running my hands over Drake's muscles is kind of like exciting. And tying him up, and this is kind of exciting. But then the hot instructor Scylla starts flirting with Drake, and Hunter gets all moody. This is such a moody men book.
It's very, the men are having a lot
Honestly,
of things.
Men are having a lot
I feel
of
like
times.
that's kind of important. I like it. Like, I don't love it because I can't date another one, but I love that for the boys.
Scylla, the instructor, pulls Drake into a room and hits on him. But like not in a gross way. And it like, let's talk for a second, like da 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 da. And he's like, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, you're fucking gorgeous, but I can't. And then basically talks out his feelings with her. Because she's like, are you with that couple? And he's like, well, yes, no, I don't know. And she's like, what do you want? He's like, I want to be with my friends and I care about them. And she's like, okay, then fucking go for it. And he's like,
Oh,
I can just do that. And she's like, you have nothing to lose. Like, if you just talk about things. So he's like, okay, great. He feels so good. He walks out of this room, and Hunter just gets so angry. And he's like, if you're gonna fuck someone else, like, then you can't fuck Isabel, because that's not okay. And Drake's like, whoa, nothing happened.
jealous.
Nothing happened. Also, Scylla gave me the room key. Let's all go use the room. Which leads
Also,
to number 4.
relax.
Yeah. Well, they're both very moody. But this leads to number 4, which I call
he's probably like, oh, I see me in you, bro. I love you, bro.
Which I call It Takes 3 to Tango, in which
Cute.
Drake is very rough with Isabel at Hunter's behest. And after he's done, he gives her to Hunter, where they basically have like very hot I love you sex, while Drake is like, I'll be outside, and like kind of walks out. And Drake is really confused because he's like, that was so fun. Like, I had sex and he had sex and we all had sex and it was great. And they knit. And then Hunter and Isabel doing it, but Hunter comes out afterwards and is like, hey, next time we have sex, can you stay? Which I kind of thought was funny, but like in a way of like, well, while we're doing it, like, we want you in the room. And I was just like,
Emotionally,
which I understand.
I understand that.
Yes, I I understand that, but it was just kind of like a funny way, like the way I wrote the notes kind of made me laugh. Um,
Hey, you
and
say.
and so that's New Orleans. And so they're going to the last place, which is Nashville. And
Okay.
Hunter, they get to the Airbnb and they all realize that Hunter rented a sex dungeon. It's like a
Classic Hunter.
classic Hunter. It doubles as a like there's ties in the headboard and there's like a whole cabinet full of like lubes and new toys and things like that. And there's like a spanking bench and all this stuff before and they're like, well, let's like rest for a while. And Drake's like, I'm gonna go and get some food. He comes back with Indian food.
I do want
And
to ask how much the cleaning fee is on like a place with a spanking bench. It can't be good.
I have a comment about that in a minute.
Okay.
But and she gets all weird because she has an allergy to coconut and he immediately is like, don't eat that, you're allergic. And she's like, how do you know I'm allergic? And she kind of realizes like, oh, Drake's always like known stuff about me and whatever. And so they all just, moment. So they all eat and they're like, well, we should go shower up. Because I was like, well, yeah, you should definitely shower if you ate Indian food. You don't want like to touch the food and then touch bodies. Like,
Yeah, spicy stuff.
spices and orifices would not be fun.
Yeah, not good.
They all get in the shower and Drake is like, the shower's big enough for 3 people. And Hunter just gets super excited. And he realizes he's into watching his best friend, also not with his wife. He's just into watching his best friend. And this is a weird realization for him. But he's like, I'll just stay in the moment. It's fine. Hunter like has a nice time and he's like, you know what? Everyone get out of the shower, get dry, and let's make use of this bedroom. And he watches as Hunter instructs Drake to tie Isabel to the spanking bench and be spanked, which leads to number 5, which I know they've all been washed, but still, because like I don't think like I'm sure the cleaning is thorough and I'm sure these people would not be renting an Airbnb with like 1 star. Like it has to have a bunch of stars, so it must have good service and all that stuff. But like, I don't know. Sometimes when I'm in an Airbnb, I'm like, I wonder who else has like slept here or whatever. And
Yeah. I think it all the time. I think it all the time.
Yeah.
That was my first thought.
Oh, and they Eiffel Tower her.
Burying the lead. My God.
And so he like watches her be spanked and Drake's like, I think she needs 2, not 1. And he's like,
but I gotta tag you in, bro.
Yes. So they do that.
Tag you in.
Tag team and Bash Brothers, if you will. And then
even
Drake, after they like, so Drake has sex with her while Hunter uses her mouth. And afterwards, Drake picks her up and puts her on top of Hunter's lap. And Hunter starts having sex with him, or with her, so Isabel's sitting on Hunter's lap. They're both facing like towards Drake. Drake is still having sex.
She's reverse cowgirling.
Yes, but she's still having sex with Drake.
Got it.
So he's basically fucking her on top of Hunter's lap. And while this is happening, like Hunter's hand starts to drift. And he's like, I guess like I should help him. And he like holds like her open basically, but also is basically holding his penis. And this is like not something they've talked about. It's not anything. I feel like Jessica loves this. And
I feel like we're finding out that he's a little more queer than he thought, maybe.
And Drake is also like, wow, his hand is on me. Oh my God. And he comes super hard. And that night,
that's just about the gayest thing I've ever heard.
Okay, so then we hear at their casual midnight snack, it's just Drake and Hunter, and Drake is worried that he overstepped because then we find out that Drake is bi and he is an out bi man. Everyone knows it. We don't know it. We've just learned this.
The reader is being included.
Yes, but he's very worried that he overstepped with Hunter because he knows Hunter is straight.
Hunter is straight, yeah.
Hunter is straight. And Hunter's like, oh my God, it's not a big deal. Like, it was my hand, whatever. And Drake is still like freaking out. And he's like, you know what? Let's just try something. And he like
pushes... what a sensitive little guy. Like Hunter put your hand on or his hand on your dick. And you're like, oh my God, did I overstep? No,
like, oh boy, he pressured him or something.
Yeah. No.
Julie. But Hunter's like, fuck it, let's just try this. And he pushes Drake against the refrigerator and kisses him. And then he kisses Drake. Like he kisses him and then he
Good.
kisses him. And they're both like breathing hard and then they look
I don't
down and
know
they're
if it's
both
good.
actually
Like, I don't
hard.
know if wifey's into this. Is she okay with this?
Well,
I
remember
just
in
have
the
a soft
very
spot in my heart for bi men because as hard as it is for bi women, bi men, there's even more of a stigma. So when two dudes get together, I feel a lot of joy for that. Even if
No,
they're fictional and wifey might be mad about it.
I do love bi dudes, but I always like,
Yeah.
I do find that people tend to center men in relationships. And because we're so hard on queer men in general, they often have to beard. And then there's a beard who gets hurt. And that is not fun for me as someone who's been there. You know what I mean? Like you're like, I don't mind it if she knows and if she's open and she's into it too, like great. But like we haven't gotten there yet. So I'm jumping the gun.
You're waiting to see.
Yeah.
You got to see what's going on. I understand.
Check the vibe because I could be, yeah, depending on the vibes. Like, I mean, you just watch me fuck them. What's the difference between you fucking them? But also, we talked about it, you know, like, and you didn't
Right.
really. That's the
fair.
difference too. It's like, I don't mind you
There's a little bit of
exploring, but like,
hypocrisy.
you know, it could be a little cheaty.
Yeah.
We could get close to cheaty quick. But
well, so he's like, he kisses Drake. They're both they're hard. They're like, that was great. And like, okay, good night. And they both go to bed. And he immediately like tells Isabel the next day. He's like, this just happened.
nice.
Like,
Okay.
are you okay? And she's like, look,
Cool.
I think we've always both been like attracted to him. And I think this is something you're realizing about yourself. And like, that's okay. I'm not mad because you told me you still love me. He's like, absolutely. And she's like, look, I got my period and I feel like shit. So I'm not going to go to the club tonight. So why don't you go and explore with Drake?
I gotta say, her little reaction. Talk about a cuck queen. You know what I mean?
A queen.
I
Well, a queen who also cucks. And he's like, are you sure? She's like, yeah, I feel like no one's touching me for at least 24 hours. So why don't you go touch him and let's see if that's something you like or let's explore it. And he's like, okay. So they go and explore. There are these dark rooms at this club where it's like there is security that is there with night vision goggles. But other than that, you have to like you walk in, there's a guy only room, there's a girl only room, and then there's a both room. And it's just completely dark. You can kind of just like make out somebody, but it's like an anonymity.
I bet it's like the height. Yeah, and
thank you.
I also think it's like the heighten your senses. It's like those eating in the dark things where I don't think I would love that, but there is the idea that you're like more on edge and you're more sensitive to
and it's the
excitement.
It's the excitement of like not knowing exactly who it is, but it's completely safe. Like the security is in the room, and so if someone is clearly not okay, they will like step in. Which I was like, wow, that's a little like they just have to stand there with night vision goggles watching everyone get down. But I was like, all right.
I bet you get desensitized to
100%.
it quickly, I think.
And while Hunter is doing his meeting, Drake's like, I'm gonna go in. And so he goes in, you're kind of supposed to like undress, so he does that. He goes in, he's like he has like a condom with him because that's what you're supposed to do. And someone tries to hit on him, and then he's like, no, thank you. And then he's like, come on. And then he feels a strong presence. And this strong presence like ushers him away, and he realizes it's Hunter, and he's like, you're mine. And they make out super hard, and they both jerk each other off, which leads to number 6, which I call dark corners and dark deeds, in which Drake gives him a blowjob. But then Hunter leaves. That was great, and leaves. And Drake
Hunter,
just feels,
you little brat. I'm about to.
Yeah.
It's on site with Hunter. I'm gonna fight that motherfucker.
100%. I was like,
too many
that's
feels.
bad. That's bad. And Drake feels used, and he feels discarded, and he just leaves as well. So he goes home, and he's a little drunk, and Izzy like comforts him, and she by jerking him off, because that's what every man feels better. Yeah.
There's not a different way to be comforted.
No,
that's the only way.
It's the only way. And he's drunk, and he's like, I think I've always loved you. And Izzy's like, let's sleep. Let's go to sleep. And so the next day, things are weird. In the car, they're driving
this
home.
is messy. This is messy.
Yeah. And at the last minute, Isabel's driving, and it's between California and Las Vegas. And she goes, I've never been to Las Vegas. And it's like, And she like they're like, hey, what are you doing? She's like, we're going to Las Vegas. This is not over. We're going to Las Vegas. And they're like,
Okay.
okay. And so they're all game. They book a room. They book 2 separate rooms though.
Where are
And
they just got all this free time to be fucking and
I guess so. Well, they all work at the club, so everyone else is like picking up slack
Yeah,
while this is
makes
happening.
sense.
But they all go out for a night and they end up kissing and dancing at a club. And if things feel right and they feel normal, and they head to their room, which leads to a threesome baby, which I titled Threesome Baby. It's it was like the culmination. It was like everyone had sex with everyone, and they were all like, this is the best day and whatever and blah blah.
I love that.
They get back to California. Drake moves in with them into the spare bedroom while he's apartment hunting. And he's like, okay, well, that was really fun, but like that was vacation. Like now we're back to real life. You guys are married. Maybe it's time for me to try and settle down. And Drake starts flirting with Gio, the bartender at the club. Hunter gets super jealous. And so Hunter's like, just don't fucking bring it home. Don't bring it home. And one day he comes home and Drake comes home. And Isabella's high and she's baking and things have been weird. And she starts throwing flour at them and it dissolves into a food fight. And it's like how it used to be, like with all of them being friends. And then it turns a little sexy.
With all their food fights.
I was going to say, what kind of rom-com friendship is this? Like, what are you talking about?
And which leads to number 8, which I called Be Careful That Sugar Can Lead to Some Rough Days, because my goodness, I am terrified to ever put food anywhere near my lady bits, because that will lead to countless issues that you need to explain to your doctor. No, thank you. No, thank you, ma'am.
Yep. Really problematic.
Yeah, sugar really messes with you. Isabel
Phallic
puts whipped
foods
cream.
Are for eating only.
Well, this is more whipped cream and like frosting and stuff. But
oh yeah, no.
He puts the whipped cream on Drake's dick, and then Hunter sucks it off, and then they do what happened in the reverse harem, which I took umbrage with, which is when it's a two sticks, one hole type of thing.
Oh,
I was like, there's 2 perfectly good holes right there. Just use both of them. Why? That makes me clench. That makes me clench.
A lot of stretching. A lot of stretching involved there.
Yeah. They're like, wow, that was great. And then it gets kind of weird and distant again because no one's talking. And then one night Hunter goes to the club and they've shut it down because Drake is doing renovations. And he's like, can I help you? And they get all sweaty and they're putting like a floor together. And Hunter's like, we should probably shower here. And Drake's like, yes. And so this leads to number 9, which I called Hot and Fraudy, which if you didn't know, fraudage, I looked it up, is when 2 men are rubbing bits together. Like that's the friction of two penises together. So that's called
naughty
frauding.
friction.
Naughty friction. And so they head home. They have sex, just the 2 of them. And Hunter, and they're just like having a great time. And they're like, wow, this is great. And Hunter doesn't really acknowledge it again. And Drake gets really pissed. And then they end up fighting. And Drake goes, you know what? Fix this. I don't know what you're doing, but you got to fix this. And Hunter, this is when I'm like, okay, you've all lost me, because Hunter's like, I'm the one that's broken. And it reveals that like he had kind of a rough upbringing. Like his dad was a lot more conservative. So he has some like closeted feelings that he's never embraced. And so he goes, I'm going to leave. I want you 2 to be together while I leave. And I'll fix myself. And so he just leaves them in his house for 2 months. And he finally goes to his dad's grave and he goes, hey, I'm bi. And he goes, I feel better. And then it's like, wow. I was just like, okay.
I love how normal of a heteronormative story that is for men to go, I'm not communicating enough. You know what I'll do? I'll leave town
wander away.
But I'll run away for 2 months.
He just stayed at their friend's house. And so then he then comes out to the group of friends, and they're all like, we kind of figured you were bi, but we're very happy for you. And he's like, oh, well, I guess okay, then cool. So he goes to the yoga studio. He like gets Isabel back. She jumps into his arms. They go to the club where Drake is, and he like basically jumps into his arms, and they all go to room 12 and they love each other. And the epilogue is that a year later, Isabel is pregnant with someone's baby, and they're all still living together. Yep, they're all still living together. And
everything is fine.
everything is fine.
Because
And
there's the baby and they're living together.
they have an extra large king bed that they all sleep in.
Oh,
And that is Give Me More by Sarah Kate.
that's cute.
Well done.
Thank you. My very, very quick game is just going to be a who do you want to play them? Because I have my 3 that I weirdly was picturing the whole time. Who would you cast is what I should say. So I've been watching a lot of Shoresy, and someone who's in it a lot is Laurence Leboeuf, who is the French Canadian actress, and she is this girl.
So hot. She's very pretty.
And that's who, and she's like petite, and so that's who I pictured as Isabel. I pictured, if you've seen the show Sex Life on Netflix, I pictured the guy Adam Demos. He's the Australian guy as Drake, the contractor. And then I pictured, if you are familiar, if you watched One Tree Hill like I did growing up, you would know Brian Greenberg as Jake, Peyton's love interest. And that's who I pictured as Hunter.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So those are my picks. If you guys have any, let me know.
The only one that I have is Sophie Turner for Isabella, but I have trouble picturing men in general. I don't really have any men.
I was getting a James Marsden. You said Chad Michael Murray, so I initially was getting Chad Michael Murray for the like country carpenter boy, but I was getting more of like a country version of him, like him all like, and then I was getting James Marsden type frat boy for the other. So I was getting like, do you know James Marsden?
Yes. Yeah.
And then for the like, I was getting just any Emily Blunt type vibe for a woman, just a generic hot skinny woman, like I just anybody to me. I was like, that one could be anybody. I get that she had red hair, but in my mind you could dye anybody's hair.
Just physical, like I don't really know if any of them could like be the sensitive men that they need, but I was like, I don't know why, but I was like, Laurence Leboeuf, that's who this is. Easy.
Well, she's hot and I like the name, so I'm into it.
But that was Give Me More by Sarah Kate. Loved it. I mostly liked it. Did you guys like it?
I loved it. I thought it was a movie.
Yeah, I could have done with a fewer emotional blow-ups from our boy Hunter. But otherwise I enjoyed myself. I thought that the dynamics with the relationship and between the people were actually quite well done. I didn't find them like unrealistic.
Yeah. I think that's why I was okay with the emotional blowups, because they feel realistic enough and like men don't be talking about them. I just hope that like there was more of a cathartic ending with that kind of shit, like to be like, hey, like I hope people who read it are like, this could have been avoided with a text message.
Yeah. Communication is key, as we say on this podcast a lot.
Exactly.
Definitely is.
But Jess, you ready to get into yours?
Yeah. So this one is from a fandom that I don't read very often, but it also kind of doesn't really matter because it is a modern AU, so modern alternate universe, meaning really for this one in particular, the only thing you need to know is like their names and their general personalities, and that's kind of the only thing that resembles the actual source material. So this is called Out in the Pouring Rain, Down on Your Knees by Summerfrost. And it is a fanfic about The Witcher, the show on Netflix / video game, Polish video game. Have either of you seen The Witcher?
I've tried. I couldn't get into it, which is weird for me, but
yeah.
I did the same thing. It's a little violent for me. I'm not a big gratuitous violence fan unless they've sucked me in with story before that, and I feel like that's one of the shows that started with violence.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
he's like
because the whole thing is he's like the Witcher, as in he'll go after like dark creatures. Like I think the first part of the first episode, he's like slaying some monster or whatever. You really don't need to know much of anything about The Witcher to enjoy the story.
Nice.
But the important things to know, I will run through for you. So our three main characters for this one are Geralt, which is Henry Cavill's character. I think Geralt. Jaskier. Geralt. It's Geralt. And then Jaskier, and then Yennefer. Okay. And so, so in the show, it follows...
It's Yennefer.
Jennifer. I know. Her name is easy because it's Jennifer with a Y. It's fine. But then it's, Jaskier, and then Geralt. And Geralt is the Witcher. So just picture blonde Henry Cavill. But very like in the story, they're kind of also basing him, I think, a little bit off of the real life Henry Cavill, who is known to be kind of a quiet nerd when he's not acting. And so just like a big, strong, muscly EMT who doesn't say a lot and is very like, has gone through trauma and has translated it into gentleness and just like taking care of people and not wanting to get in anyone's way. Yep. Jaskier is in the show, he's like a bard character. So he kind of hooks up like with the crew in the third or fourth episode and is kind of like the buddy sidekick comic relief. But the girlies latched on in season 1 to this relationship because he seems very much in love with Geralt. And so there's a lot of fan fiction about these two. And then Yennefer in the story is this half-elf woman, and you kind of watch her come into her own. Like her storyline is a big thread in the first season, and she basically, you see her like learn how to be a powerful sorceress, and so you see her like come into her powers, and she's just this very beautiful like half-elf woman who's like very sexual, very powerful, just like in her moment. And her and Geralt hook up and have kind of a like mutual respect, will they, won't they relationship through the season. So those are like the things to know. And that's really all we need to know about the backstory for this one. Details about the fic. It is 1 chapter, but it is almost 45,000 words. So that's
that's a novella. That's what that is.
Wow. Yeah, it's novella size. It was finished in November of 2020, and some of the tags that tickled me were slow burn, modern AU (parentheses no powers), daddy kink, cot cages, pegging, BDSM, sub drop, and happy ending.
You got me a daddy kink, let me tell you.
Wow.
Yep. So everybody buckle up. There's also a fan-made pod fic of this that I'll throw in our link tree. So if anyone wants to listen to this story, there will be a link to do that if you don't want to read it.
Okay.
Yeah. So in this fic, like I said, Henry Cavill is an EMT. Yennefer is some kind of boss bitch. We don't really get any description of what she does, just that she really knows what she's doing. She's around. And Jaskier is a famous musician who's like just kind of hit it big, is about to go on his first world tour type thing. Yep. So we're there. Okay. So the three of them have been friends since college. And Geralt and Yennefer are married, and they have a daughter named Ciri who's in high school. And she is in the show too as kind of like Henry Cavill's adopted like daughter, not his actual daughter, but like they love each other, they care for each other.
His ward, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. So one day out of this is all from Jaskier's POV, by the way. So one morning, Yen calls him to say, hey, we should have sex. And he says, why should we have sex? And he's always been a little bit scared of her because she's his best friend's wife, who kind of just showed up and took over the friend group and was like, I'm here now, fuck you, and has always been like a little mean to him, and he's always been a little mean to her. So it's very weird that he's getting this random call. And she goes, I love Geralt, but he's painfully vanilla, quote unquote. And yet, after 9 years of marriage, he has finally told me a fantasy, and it is cuckolding, and he wants it to be you to be the other person.
Okay.
He wants it to be somebody that he knows and trusts, is what she said. And right away, Jaskier's like, yep, I will step in. I will do this for you guys. And she's surprised that he accepts so quickly and goes like, okay, but just so you know, like, Geralt is just gonna watch, and it's gonna be us two, like, and he's just gonna be observing. That's what he wants to do. And he was like, okay, so like I'll come by. I have to drop something off anyway that I borrowed from you guys, like when we were hanging out last week. So I'll just come by tomorrow and we can like talk about the details more. And she goes, okay. And we get like a quick flashback to indicate that Jaskier and Geralt like were friends in college, kind of like both were in love with each other, but nothing ever came of it. But there was just a lot of tension.
There's some touches, maybe. There was some like
maybe
lingering
some touches,
looks.
some like you're my best friend. And Jaskier never like he never stopped feeling that way, but it was more just like we're adults now, we have our careers, you have a wife, we're really good friends. Cool.
Like how Julie looks at
move
me.
It along.
Yeah, exactly.
I've given up, but I know that there's still hope in another lifetime.
And it could be. It could be. Yeah.
So the next day, Jaskier shows up. He's so nervous. And Yen immediately yells at him for being weird. And she goes, stop being so fucking awkward or else you're going to make my husband nervous. And it doesn't matter because Geralt comes out of his craft room because he has a craft room. He makes miniatures. He's really into Pathfinder. And so he makes
miniatures.
He makes little miniature like guys
to
play Pathfinder. Yeah. And so he like comes out of his craft room and was like, would anyone like tea? And then awkwardly like rushes away to make tea for everyone. And Yen is like, yeah, he's been like that all afternoon. He can't contain himself. He's so excited. And so I'm just gonna call him Jay because I can't keep saying Jaskier. And his name starts with a J. So we're just gonna go Jay. Jay notices that Yen is pretty tense herself and kind of goes, hey, are we good? Are we still feeling okay? And she's like, I just really want this to go well. Like, he's trusted us with this, and he's not usually the type of person to ever say something he wants. So I just really want it, I want it to go well. And Jay goes, I completely understand, but also like, if you've decided that you don't want to fuck me, like, I get it. It's cool. We can back out.
Aww.
And she says, quote, I fucked worse for less noble reasons, which is an amazing quote.
Wow.
That I love.
And relatable.
Yes. Yeah. Oh God. Yes. So they kind of all drink their tea in the living room, and Gerald like kind of quietly says like the what, when, and where of like, I'd like us to go to the bedroom. I just want to watch. And Jaskier is like proud of him because he knows how difficult it is for his friend to say what he wants, especially in like any sort of relationship sense. So he's having a moment of like, oh, like my friend's doing a good job talking about how he wants to fuck me and my wife, me and his wife. So and he basically says like, don't look at me, pretend I don't exist. Like I just want to observe you guys. I do not want to be seen. I don't want to be known, like any of that. So they agree. And they like stop talking, and then they're like, so do we just do it now? And Yen goes, let's do a soft reset and send Jaskier out for Chinese food. It's like, let's like get some dinner, watch a movie. Yeah, like kind of, get the move from negotiation into actual like maybe sexy time. And so they go get the Chinese food, he comes back, and they're like good enough friends that they all have their usual spots like in the living room of Yen and Geralt's house. And Jaskier comes in from the kitchen and notices that Yen is not in her usual spot, and she is on the couch where he usually is. With a blanket, and she's like, okay, sit next to me. And he like kind of realizes that he's never sat so close to her before, and he's just like very aware of her body and her smell and like all of that. Like he's just kind of getting a lot of sensation already. And she has one dumpling left and tells him, eat this, I'm not going to be able to do it. And she stabs it on her fork and holds it up to his mouth. And the line is, Jaskier forgets how to eat food and stares at the dumpling for a while.
He forgets how to eat food.
He forgets.
I don't think I'll ever forget how to eat food.
Yeah.
I can be nervous as hell, and that's exactly my only instinct is to eat food.
I put it in my mouth. Yeah.
But it makes sense. Obviously, what else am I gonna do? Jaskier kind of realizes like, oh, she's seducing me. I'm being seduced. I'm being flirted with. And kind of has his own feelings about that. And they put on a movie, and she puts a blanket over them and kind of snuggles into him, and then puts her leg on his thigh, and then basically starts to make out with him. And eventually, so she is so dommy. She is definitely the dom in this situation. Mm-hmm. And she's like on top of him, and she's like, eventually is like, you're being so boring. You're not even like touching me or anything. Like, are you scared? Yeah, she like negs
Get
him.
His ass.
Mm-hmm. And so he's like, well, fuck you. And then like picks her up and goes to carry her to the bedroom. And the whole time they're very aware that like Geralt is in the room, but they're following what he said, and they're just completely ignoring him. And he gets into the bed, and she commands him to undress her.
She commands him.
And as he does, she kind of whispers in his ear, like, he's watching, you'd better be good. Like, you'd better do a good job with this. And he like works his way down to start to eat her out. And she says, if you can make me come, I'll let you fuck me, but we'll see. And so, yeah. And so she proceeds.
I'm obsessed with her. She's great.
I'm obsessed with her too.
She is amazing.
She's got some lines for sure.
She's great. And so he eats her out. And he remembers, like, he knows where her sex toys are, and the thing that she had said was no hands, but she didn't say anything about other things. And so he like gets up, goes to the drawer that he knows all of them are in, doesn't pick the tentacle dildo, and instead picks like a relatively conservative green vibrator. And it works.
I do picture him cartoonishly like throwing out like behind his head just different vibrators.
Where's the conservative dildo?
Where's the first timer?
Yeah. Where's
the bullet?
Like yeah, exactly. Like
the rose.
He goes, oh. So he makes her come, and she's like, okay, you can fuck me, but that means she gets on top of him. And so while she's doing that, he can't stop himself from glancing over at Geralt. And it is the most beautiful thing he has ever seen, is the way it's described, because his friend is like flustered and flushed, and he's like gripping his own thighs like a white knuckled like grip. Yeah. And he whispers in Yen's ear, like, he looks so like desperate, like he just looks like he wants to like tear us apart. And so they have like really good sex. But then after, she makes eye contact with Geralt and asks Jaskier to leave, and he kind of has a bit of a sub drop when he leaves, because it's like they have a really intense scene, they have really intense sex, and then he's kind of dismissed. And I was thinking about this with your fic too. And he starts to kind of like, he starts to feel really bad and get kind of like hyperventilate a little bit. And then he goes into the guest room, because that was the plan originally, that you just stay the night in the guest room. And Yen comes in and says, hey, I'm actually really sorry. Like, I'm a better dom than that. Like, I should have like checked in with you more, and we should have established a plan for aftercare. And she gets him a glass of water and like an ibuprofen and a stuffed animal because that really helps with sub drop to like have something to cuddle. And so yeah, and then leaves him. So like he starts feeling really, really bad, but then she kind of brings him back down to like, it's okay. I care. You're still our friend. We want to take care of you, that kind of thing. And then they kind of like the next morning, they're doing what they like, the kind of thing that good friends have done a million times. They're drinking coffee, eating breakfast, just like chatting. And then when they're alone, Jaskier asks like if everything's okay and how Geralt's feeling. And Geralt says, yes, I am okay. And Jay admits that he couldn't bear it if they weren't okay. And Geralt says, I know, me too. I care about you too. And then that's the end of the scene. Like if your story had all of the dude emotions, mine has
none.
Almost very few actual like spoken dude emotions. Let's put it that way.
Funny.
So then 3 days later, Yen calls and Geralt wants to do it again, but is afraid that Jaskier won't want to. And she was like, I told him that he was ridiculous, and of course you would want to. But then he asked me if I could call you and ask, and so I'm calling you and asking. So like, can you confirm that you want to fuck us again?
Please confirm.
Please confirm.
And please check your Google Cal.
Yeah, can you?
I sent you
shared
an
Google
invite.
And Jay admits that he was kind of worried that they wouldn't want to do it again himself because he was worried that he wasn't masculine enough for a cuckolding fantasy. And Yen is like, no, like Geralt likes that it was you, like someone that he knows and trusts. And I guess I liked it too, like it was more comfortable, but it's more about my husband, it's not about me.
I guess I liked getting fucked.
I guess I like you. I guess you're fine.
I guess the Chinese food was good.
It was whatever. That dumpling was okay. And this like, so they just start doing this all the time. And it's getting increasingly dom subby with her being the dom and him being the sub. And he loves it. He's having an incredible time. She, by all, as far as we know, is having an incredible time. And as far as we know, so is Geralt, although we do not hear from him at all because he wants to be seen and not heard. So
he wants to be seen in that. Just like children should.
And Jaskier is like falling for her in a sex way. Like he's just real into what's going on, and they're starting in a sex way. But he has to go on tour because he's a recently famous musician, and so in the end, they like drive him to the airport because he has to go on. He's going on like an international tour, and he really likes touring, but it is tough being away from his friends. But Yennefer keeps Snapchatting him. And it starts with her sending him what she was already going to post on her story anyway, but he kind of like still feels special. But then she starts sending him more specific like Snapchat flirting updates. And they like one night kind of start doing full, oh, what are you up to? Nothing much. What about you? And then they start sending each other like flirty pics.
Oh, shit.
And then eventually she just like calls him and says, you're just lost without me, aren't you? And they start dirty talking until they kind of go, oh shit, wait, we need to talk to Geralt about this because this is a gray area that we have not discussed yet. And so they both are like, we need to stop and talk to Geralt about this. And he goes, but are you touching yourself though? And she goes, yeah, are you? And he goes, yeah. And so they both masturbate and come on the phone with each other and then go, we need to talk to Geralt though, right? Yeah, okay, bye. And she talks to him that night and she goes, he's okay with us having sex, but says that we shouldn't murder each other. And as long as we can agree not to murder each other, he's cool with it. Okay. So that, so now they start having like virtual, just him and Yen start having like virtual sexing. And later, like 2 week on a 2 week break, like a holiday break of the tour, he's back in London. He's staying with them. Him and Geralt are like hanging out, and it's totally normal. It's lovely. Everyone's having a good time. And Geralt kind of jokes one morning over coffee that if he knew that this is what it would take for the two of them to get along, he would have suggested that they fuck years and years ago. So he's like kind of like he's enjoying it. Like he's enjoying being cuckolded, but also he's like, oh, my two friends who were always kind of jealous and mean to each other are now getting along. So he's having a wonderful time.
Aww.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, he's loving it. 6 months in, Yen texts him. He's in the middle of a meeting, and she texts him, how do you feel about barebacking? And he does a spit take in the middle of a meeting. Yeah. And then he calls her and goes, what? Really? Are you sure? And she goes, yeah, it's Geralt's idea. Like, he wants you to come inside of me, and then he wants to eat me out. Like, what do you think about that? And Jaskier has to, quote, grip the edge of the counter very hard. And he's like, that could be like, does that mean I get to stay like after we're done and I get to watch him eat you out? And she goes, we'll talk about it, and then hangs up. And so they're like, they agree that they're all gonna get tested. They're gonna go about this the right way. Jaskier was just on a European tour. We don't know where his dick has been. We're gonna
over Europe,
get our test results all over Europe, and do this the right way. So, but then a few days later, Yen calls Jaskier and goes, hey, like, my office is under construction, so I'm going to come over and I'm going to work from your place. And he goes, oh, okay. And she goes, I'm 5 minutes away. And he's like frantically cleaning. And they end up spending the whole day together. And he eats her out very slowly while she works, which I don't know how that would go for me personally. Like, I don't know if I could like enjoy that while also trying to write an email.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, I would have to be in the mood, but also like be like, well, I'm not working on something really important. Like, I can't actually do work.
Yeah, for me to be actually horny and like able to enjoy it properly, I think there would be maybe a voyeuristic aspect if it's like a Zoom meeting, you know what I mean? And
That's
you're like
fair.
trying to keep your cool. That would be sketchy, but also very like, oh no, you know what I mean? Like they don't know, but deep down I have to keep quiet or whatever. But I don't know that I could get into it at all because I'm like all of the work I have to do. I'd be like, can you just leave me the fuck alone for now? I'll come in there in 20 minutes.
Yeah. Also, like, I don't want someone down there for that long.
Yeah. It's described as like a full hour of buildup. She like answers a call in the middle of it and like dresses someone down. He enjoys it because of like the dommy, like she's ignoring him entirely, and he's into that type thing.
That I get.
Yeah, and then like he makes her come super hard, obviously, and they kind of are both surprised at the intensity and intimacy of it, and kind of share a look. And then he goes, do you want to order a pizza? And she goes, sure. And so they order pizza and they're just hanging out and eating, and he's complaining about an issue he had with one of his like tour contracts, and she goes, well, hand it over. So I think she might be a lawyer, who the fuck knows. They don't say.
She's high up in business.
She's a business lady who does business. So they're like eating pizza while she's like eating pizza with one hand, writing notes on this paper with another, starts like editing, and then like shoves it back to him and goes, give this to your tour manager. This plan will do it. Don't worry about it. And he sarcastically goes, yes, daddy. And both of their eyes lock and go really, really wide. And he goes, wait, is that And then it's a sharp cut to the next scene of him going, "Daddy, yes," while she pegs him. It's
incredible.
A+.
The idea of like
It's
a sharp
beautiful.
cut doing that actually makes it so that's worth it. It's so
It's
funny.
so funny. It's so good. So thus starts him calling her daddy. So for the rest of the sex scenes, just know that that's happening.
Just know that that's happening.
Just know that that's happening. And they've also started getting into chastity play. So he has a cage. He is in his cock is in a cage. And so it becomes a thing of like she has to tell him when he has permission to come, basically.
Okay.
And that then gets tied up in the cuckolding as well, of like, oh, Geralt can see that you're not allowed to come. And so yeah, it keeps intensifying. They keep kind of like going down this weird, like they're starting to care about each other, but they've also got this very intense dom sub thing going on, while also doing like having these beautiful domestic scenes with Geralt and their daughter and just like everyone having breakfast together. So it's really lovely. And so like eventually it kind of reaches a point where he spends the night at, like, him and Yen have sex, just the two of them. Geralt's like working a night shift and they're done. He's exhausted and he's like, he like gets up to go to the guest room. And she's like, just stay here. Don't worry about it. Like, just close your eyes and you can move later. And he falls asleep and he wakes up to Geralt next to him, like taking off his like work clothes and like changing into like bedtime. And he feels horrible because he's like, oh my God, like I'm in your bed. Like, this is your house. You should be able to sleep in your own bed. I'm so sorry. And Geralt's like, no, don't worry about it. Like, it's fine. And so he sleeps in the guest room. And then the next day, he's like, you guys are already in my bed. Like, it's okay. Like, I don't mind. You don't have to move, you know? Yeah. And so maybe another version of cuckolding a little bit, like a baby type of cuckolding.
Yeah, probably.
And then the next day,
it's instead of the wife, it's your most comfortable place on the planet.
And your wife and your best friend. Everyone's sleeping without you. But then the next day, like, Yaskir's like, but maybe next time we all just sleep in the same bed, like we all share a bed. And Geralt deflects hard and is like, look at these miniatures I'm building.
But back to my miniatures.
back to my
miniatures. And then they get their test results back and everyone's clear so they can do the fantasy with the eating out and the stuff.
Didn't realize we were still waiting on those test results.
Oh yeah, those test results took like a month.
Well, they were getting tested for everything.
They used the NHS. They were really backed up.
I was wondering what year this was, but I was like, honestly, it sounds present, current day.
November of 2020, but yeah, it's a modern AU, so I have no real idea. So they do that with the cum and the eating out and all of that stuff.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
But also it's a big deal because Jaskier can actually stay and watch after his bit is done. Mm-hmm. So him and Geralt like switch, like he goes and sits in Geralt's usual chair and watches. And he's kind of like, his inner monologue is like, I didn't think that I would find this hot, but I find this very, very hot. Like, and it like specifically paying attention to how practiced like Geralt and Yennefer are together because they've been together for so long, and he describes it as like a beautiful dance because they just like know each other and are very fluid and just like very lovely. They're his best friends, and so he's just like, I'm enjoying this. I didn't think I would enjoy watching this as much as I did. And he hears Yen say, he's watching you, Geralt. He can see how good you're being forming. And that's like what makes Geralt come. And then Jaskier starts to feel jealous because he's like, well, I want to kiss them and I can't, and I would like to kiss them both. And he like kind of tries to leave right after and feels really, really awkward about it. And Yen is like, what the fuck are you doing? You're our friend. We've been doing this for a long time. Mm-hmm. Like, don't make my husband, she's like, don't make my husband feel awkward about this. Like, we all had a good time.
Yeah.
Are you okay? Like, and he's like, you're right. I'm just in my own head. And is like, still like the next morning when he wakes up alone, he's a little bit like, oh no, like I have feelings for them both.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Messy.
And so messy. And so then he has a birthday party. So they all go to his birthday party. It's a lovely time. Geralt gives Jaskier a little carved miniature of his favorite bird. And it's just like,
I love it.
Bird. And I'm just picturing like hot giant Henry Cavill quietly handing this man a delicate wooden bird.
That's so
Happy
wholesome.
birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. And he goes home pretty quickly.
not the anger and resentment in your face, Emily.
Happy birthday. But yeah, so Geralt leaves the party like at a reasonable hour because he wants to get their daughter Ciri home. Yennefer stays, and they have one of those nights where they just like stay up all night talking and like smoke weed on the roof and just like hang out. And that's when they admit that they like each other.
Ooh.
And he says, she says, I like
much.
you. Mm-hmm. And they kiss and they stay awake all night. And she's like, I also just didn't know. She's like, I don't know how Geralt never realized that all of the songs you ever wrote were about him. But I'm happy to be involved.
Aww.
And then kisses him. Yeah. And her birthday gift to him is a silicone cock cage, which is more comfortable and easier to transport through airport security. So
God.
Stop it right now.
Easier to transport.
I will not. It is. It doesn't. Metal ones set off alarms.
Yeah. So when he's
So
on
this
tour,
is
he
modern.
can use it. Yeah.
This is modern day post 9/11 TSA.
Yes. Oh yeah.
They used
It's
to let you travel.
Any cock cage you wanted. Now it has to be silicone.
Yeah. Thanks.
Or you put
thanks,
it in your
Obama.
carry-on. Or you put it in your checked.
Dying. That's so funny.
Yeah, it's cute. It's honestly cute. It's like he's like, oh, you know me. And then so the relationship keeps progressing. He's getting closer to just the family. He's known their daughter for a really long time. But one morning, like 1 a.m., he gets a call from their daughter who's in like high school, Ciri. And she's like, I'm at a party and I want to leave. Everyone's being really mean to me. Can you come get me? Like, I think my parents are asleep. And he's like, yeah, of course. Like, and he goes and gets her and texts Yen and Geralt's like, hey, I'm going to get Ciri. She called me. I'm going to drop her off at your place. Like, gets her home. She's wasted. And she's like, you're dating my mom and dad, right? And he's like, and she goes, I kind of figured you were probably sleeping together because I've been stealing mom's condoms for a while and she used to never use them, but then I noticed she was using them and you're the only one that she could conceivably be using them with.
Damn, okay, Detective frickin' Ciri.
They're
always listening.
Kids always know. Yeah. So he like gets her home. He ends up sleeping in the guest room and is just like, I want to make sure you're good and that I can tell your parents what happened. And like from that moment on, it's like simpler because they don't feel like they have to hide anything from their daughter. And so they just like their relationship grows and they become like, they're okay, like being more affectionate, like in the kitchen together and like actually getting a lot closer. And Jaskier releases a new song that is clearly about Yennefer. It's about how what's it called? I don't remember what it's called. I didn't write it down, but it's about how like if love doesn't have thorns, if roses don't have thorns, then what's even the point? Like love should have and it's clearly about like his dummy girlfriend. So one morning they're like sitting at the kitchen table and Geralt's like, so that new song that you wrote is about Yennefer, right? Like it's about my wife. And he's like, yeah, is that okay? Is that all right? And Geralt goes, yeah, it's okay, but like, are you in love with her? because like you wrote all of your other songs about me and you've been in love with me for like our entire lives. So I just want to check in. He goes, I'm not an idiot. Like, I'm quiet and I like making miniatures, but I'm not a fool. I know you've been writing songs about me for a decade.
Okay, I love that actually.
I do too. And Geralt is like, I always wondered if the other songs were about me. I'm not an idiot. And Gaskier says, it was you. It was you so badly that I had to make it into something else just to get by.
Damn.
Wow. And Geralt goes, let me show you something. And he goes into his craft room where his miniatures are. And he opens a drawer and Jaskier sees a dozen miniatures. Half are clearly him and half are clearly Yennefer.
Wow.
And
love
Geralt
stories
goes,
are so creepy sometimes. That's so creepy.
Crafting is
Just a
so
man
creepy sometimes.
working on a tiny little statue of you.
This is my
Or,
wife.
yeah, you know that shit takes hours and he's doing how many? That's crazy.
He did at least 12. But he's like, yeah, anytime anything happened in our lives and I couldn't, be honest with you or Yen about my feelings, I would come in here and I would make one of these to like, as a way to like, do it and then put it aside and put it in a drawer and then continue to enjoy our relationship as it was. But
I would make them fuck in here.
I would just bang these two wooden miniatures together as much as I wanted.
It's like what I used to
like
like Barbies.
I was gonna say it's like a sex voodoo doll, but like,
that's
but
not
like
what
Barbie style.
And Jaskier like kind of touches Geralt's jaw and says, am I reading this right? Can I and Geralt says yeah, and they kiss.
Ooh.
In the miniature room, and it's really cute and it's comfortable and easy and they feel complete and tell each other they love each other, and then they all kind of just fall into living together and raising their daughter for the rest of their lives. And there's one last sex scene that's really hot. Jaskier and Yennefer go to like a kink event where she dumbs the hell out of him and ties him up in front of a crowd. And then in the cab on the way back home, he says, hey, I'm in love with you. And she squeezes his thigh and says, I love you too. And then they go back to their apartment and they see Ciri and Geralt asleep on the couch in front of an episode of Drag Race and agree that they've never seen anything so beautiful in their lives. And that's how the fic ends.
It's so wholesome.
Thanks for that, Jess. That was cute.
Fandom, praise kink,
yeah,
cuckolding.
That was a trifecta.
Fluff. I'm pretty proud of myself if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah, it's real good.
I looked up what they all looked like during your story, so I could get.
They're all real
I
hot.
did the same thing.
I was like, I gotta know because I know exactly who Henry Cavill looks like, but it was like, who the hell are these people? I was like, okay, I can 100% picture this now.
So my game is not even really a game; it's just a question. So to me, Geralt making miniatures in his spare time is like a green flag thing. So is there a hobby that to you is a like clear green flag? Like, especially for like, I'm thinking men specifically. If you meet a man and he goes, this is a thing I like to do, is there a thing that he can say where you're like, oh, okay, you're probably cool?
Yeah, quite a few actually. I feel like any type of crafting, like ceramics, if he's into like pottery, I think that's real wholesome. Or like building things, like he's into woodworking, furniture, welding, mechanic type shit, like trying to be a boy.
Doing something with your hand. Oh, cooking. I think cooking is pretty like
cooking's real wholesome.
Yeah,
I also think like there's definitely red flag ones that I'm like, I don't know, like hunting, red flag. Hunting is immediate no.
For me, mechanic could go either way. Like if he's the type of dude that is obsessed with cars, maybe not.
That's different, yeah.
But if he just enjoys fixing up cars or something
tinkering.
Like that, tinkering, I would be
if
okay
he's like
with.
engineer brain, great. If he is like, if it's only car shit, I just like hobbyists. I like enthusiasts. So if you have, to me, enthusiasm and passion are very sexy. So if you have your thing, I don't really care what it is, as long as it's not scary, like not a scary thing. And notoriously, and there are some with just like you know, you got bad people in it making it worse for everybody. Like, you know, car guys make it bad for bike guys. Like I find like if you're super into cycling, honestly, I find like extreme fandoms to be pretty toxic most of the time.
Yeah.
It can be for sure.
I think like a recreational like sport is a green flag because it's like they still do it because they like doing it. Or like they do it, you know, because to get in shape or whatever, but they're not like crazy professional about it. They're not
It depends though. Sometimes them softball boys get crazy.
True, but it's like it's only for a season
It's
or
for
it's
fun.
only for fun. It's not like they
It
don't
doesn't
have
take up
to. It does
their whole life.
It's not their whole life. So I'm like, I think that's because they can commit to something and they kind of like they do it for fun and because they love it, which I'm like, that's something really nice to do as someone who like loves doing improv, but like I need to take a break from it and step away to do other things. You know, it's like, oh, it's nice that when people can do it for years and years, which I guess I did, but like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, oh, that's a
but
good
it doesn't
flag.
have to be the end game. Like you can be doing it for the passion of it all, the fun of it all,
That's,
the like
that's
enjoy
what I
for the
mean.
joy.
Out of 5 raccoons and trash cans, what would you rate Give Me More by Sarah Cate, and what would you rate is a long name.
I don't even know what it was. A long name.
It was
The
like
Witcher
something rain.
Yeah, something
Okay.
good
I'm not
on your
gonna
knees.
lie. I don't know if it's the Florida fresh air, but I'm giving both of these 5 raccoons and trash cans.
What?
Yeah. I'm feeling I was enamored in both stories. I think like they felt like I also think I'm realizing I love being told stories that feel like a movie. Like those both felt like I could picture like the flash cut to them fucking with the last line, like daddy. Like those are movie that's written for film, you know?
Yeah.
And like so to me, I they're both very different vibes, 2 different genres in my world. But like they also had a lot of the same vibe of like we're fighting heteronormative internalized homophobia.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like there's a lot of similarities between our two, just like character wise or character development wise, maybe I should say. Yeah.
And just having like a married couple.
Yeah. Yeah. And having it be like your best friend, because that was a big element that I didn't really harp on, was that like in my thing, Hunter was like, well, I don't like the idea of anyone else touching my wife, but the idea of Drake touching my wife is really hot to me. So it was like, oh, it's that bond that they have of like trust and friendship that like elevates it.
Yeah, because when I honestly traditionally think of cuckolding, I think of a stranger. I think of a someone that doesn't have any. There's no strings attached. There's no feelings. I think it complicates things, and it did in both of these stories. But that's what made me like them. Was it gave it the whole narrative arc of we're invested in that, but you're going through a third, because relationships are hard between 2 people, you know, communicating your feelings to yourself is hard. So trying to communicate it to someone else, extra hard. But imagine throwing a third person into that, especially when you're dealing with like heteronormative nuclear family norms of like trying to please your wife, trying to please your husband, trying to please your best friend, trying not to seem queer, but also bi, even though you've never felt that way. I love it. I think they're important conversations, but I think they're like well done. Both had the character building I feel like I needed. And maybe because they were similar, they've kind of melded together in that sense. Like I was picturing some of the same. I pictured Chad Michael Murray in your story too, Jess. Sorry about it.
No, I'm fine. I'm not mad about it at all.
So is there anything from this episode that sparked your interest that makes you want to talk about it in the next episode? I feel like I didn't phrase that well, but you know what I mean.
You did. I don't know. Initially, I had one in mind earlier, and I'm like, I don't know. Okay, so we've done cuckolding, we've done praise, we've done femdom. I like the idea of coming out story. Yeah, I think a coming out story for anybody, like whatever, like I don't like the idea of it being at somebody's expense, but if that's what it happens at, that's typically how it works is we're with someone else. But yeah, I think I like the idea of that, like whether it be women to women, men to men, or just coming out as trans or whatever, non-binary. Like I think that could be a really fun and like kind of open umbrella for you, but also just like fun, because I was really enjoying those, like it's the catharsis of feeling like you're getting to know yourself a little better, the psychology of it all within. It's
Let's
fun.
let's do a
like
coming out
that.
story. That'll be fun.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm coming out. Let's
And
go.
that's gonna be the theme song. We're gonna get the rights to that song. It'll be great.
Let's
I know
buy it.
Diana. No.
Yeah, call her up.
Okay, in the last couple of minutes, hey Jess.
I'm reading. So I recently saw the movie Saltburn twice, and
Can I
it is
say
a.
my brother texted me and said I have to see Saltburn as well. So now
It's
that's
so
I know,
good,
and she's
Emily.
told me a bunch
I
of
will
times I have to see
go
it.
with you. It is sick and wonderful and
I'll see
so
it with
gay.
you. I'll see it with you.
And Barry Keoghan plays a creepy little boy, and Jacob Elordi is so hot in it. And I've been just consuming all of the fan fiction. And there's one called You're Almost Home, which basically imagines like them like 10 years later coming back together. And it's very fun. And I don't want to say anything more because it's one of those movies that you just need to experience. And there's a lot to discover. But everyone should see Saltburn. Don't go with your parents or anyone you're not willing to see some kinky shit with.
Got it. I'll see it with you.
I loved it. Yeah, let's go for real. Like, give me a day and I will be there because I love this movie. So yeah, it's called You're Almost Home by Leaf Leader.
If we wait until after the holiday, I'm definitely down because I want to see it.
Let's do it. Let's do a
Anytime.
season 3 field trip.
Okay.
Absolutely. Hey, Emily.
Yeah.
What are you reading?
Okay, something big that happened. Okay, I have a huge physical TBR, and last night I was finally like, let's fucking do it. I finished 2 of the books that I have in there because I've read some of them and I've like paused. So
Yeah.
I finished Percy Jackson and the Chalice of the Gods, and it was so good. You guys, it did make me tear up. I loved it so much. I recommend this to everyone. Even if you don't like Percy Jackson, you'll love this book. Anyways,
Okay.
Is it a separate? You don't have to have the other ones for that one?
It's like at the beginning of a new series, but like reading the first series will help you understand the things.
Gotcha.
The world.
Yeah, or like if you know, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. The other one I finished was The Murder Game by Tom Hindle, which was like a modern day Agatha Christie type thing. So I literally just finished those last night. So I think the next one I'll read is Book Lovers by Emily Henry because that's the next one in my thing. So
fun.
Yep.
Julie.
Fun.
What are you reading?
What are you reading?
I'm currently reading, I had to look up the name because I knew Cerulean Sea. It's The House on the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune.
That's what Will was reading in season 2, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah. No.
Was that Magical Orphans?
Yeah, Magical Orphans.
Yeah, you're right. Yes.
And a boring guy and Magical Orphans. Not boring, but he's just like by the book guy.
Mm-hmm.
I just started it not that long ago because I was looking up like fantastical, like fun utopia type books, and this popped up in it. It's not utopian at all, but it's magical. They're orphans, so it's not really utopian by any means.
Yeah, but magical orphans.
But magic makes it a little better, easier to cope with, I suppose.
Cool.
Yeah,
we can recommend that twice to the listeners.
Yeah, I also finished Happy Place while I was back in Florida on my flight. And I had started that before. It's an Emily something book.
Emily Henry book.
That one.
Yeah.
But I feel like we talked about it. No, maybe not.
Maybe. It's been a minute since we recorded, so.
Yeah, it was like a rom. I don't know if I was reading it before or I had finished it, but I definitely finished it, and that one actually made me tear up a little bit. It was really good. It was so friendship centric and just really beautiful. Well written.
Nice.
Cool. All right, y'all. We gotta go read some coming out stories.
Yep, we gotta tell you about coming out
later.
We'll be back with coming out stories. Meanwhile, we're just 2 raccoons
talking about
the best trash in town.
Bye.
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 Thumbs Reading Filth is hosted, produced, and edited by Emily Barusian and Jessica Mall. Intro music by Tom Lehrer. Outro music by David Reddick. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Thumbs Reading Filth. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.